Hello and welcome back to another NWCL Beyond the Boundary. I'm Corey Donnelly, and today I'm with Ribblesdale Wanderers duo. We have second team captain Travis Blezard and player Stephen Tandy. How's it going, guys?
Yeah, good. Cheers.
Yeah, all good, thank you.
Brilliant. So, firstly, could you introduce yourself, please? So, just tell us about yourself and your role at Rib. We can start off with Travis.
So joined Rib, so it's my fifth season now at Ribblesdale. My third year as the second team captain, and I also run the social media this year as well. So another thing that I do at the club. So that's my role at the moment.
I'm Stephen. I've met my second spell at club. I played when I was 15, played in the under 15s, under 18s, moved to Chapman, played there for about 10 years, and then again moved back here and then my fifth season as well.
So, looking at last season, I think it's fair to say that it probably wasn't the best season for your first and seconds, with both teams being relegated. So, what did you make of last season? How have you approached this season with a goal, I would assume, to be promoted?
So last year, I think it was a tough season. So we pre-season started well. Obviously, we signed Hamad from Clitheroe as the new wicketkeeper. We'd secured a season pro in Michael Erling, and we have re-signed our overseas amateur Josh Grief. We'd re-signed him. Um, However, that all unravelled really in the first few weeks of the season. Josh picked up an injury in the Lancashire knockout game, and we had to go. Unfortunately, what meant really we had to get a last minute overseas in. We got Kev on in, who did well for the club, but we were really looking forward to having Josh as his second season, building on what he'd done previously with the bat and the ball. And Michael went about 6 weeks in, was recalled by his state, and I think that the combination of that really didn't help us settle down into the season. I think the first 4 weeks we could have won the four games they lost the first team. So it was disappointing really, and then having to get a sub pro every week. If you speak to Ian Brickcliffe, who did that every week, it's not as easy as you think, and it doesn't bring any momentum or settle the team at all. Having a different pro in every week, who doesn't know the team or how they bat and all that. So it was just a constant struggle. And I think when the first team struggled, it has a knock-on effect to your second team. Um, we were, we were then struggling to not fill our team, but we're filling our team with a lot of youngsters who probably weren't ready for second team cricket just yet. And it showed in some of the games that we played. And I think that's probably the main reason why both teams got relegated was just being very unsettled from the start of the season, never really getting going, neither team.
See, coming to this season, obviously, you probably tried to bat threat last season, which ultimately possibly led to get relegated. Do you think this season has been a massive change from last season? And is your goal to be promoted for both the first and seconds?
I think definitely, yeah. We had a team meeting at the start of the season. Said we wanted to right our wrongs, really. It's not ideal getting relegated. You never want to get relegated. But yeah, we just all sat down. We said we wanted to get promoted, at least, try win the league. Everyone wants to do that. And try and go on a decent cup run if you can, which we always like to do as well.
Mm. Yeah, obviously, last year, your first team obviously lost Andy Needham after his fantastic first season in the North West Cricket League. It's obviously had to replace him, and you mentioned you brought in Hamad in to try to kind of
Mm.
fill those boots. Obviously, it's very hard to do that. But when that departure was announced, did you expect the season to be quite tough for the first?
Obviously, you lose a player like Andrew Needham. I think any team, probably in the northwest of cricket, they lost Andrew Needham from the team. It's 1,000 runs to replace, and he's not just that. He won games, match winning innings. It weren't just runs. It was he won games for you. So you lose that. It is tough to replace. I think that was another combination losing Andrew Needham. And like I say, a pro going home, Josh going home. It just felt like everything was against us. 6 weeks into a season, I mean, it just felt like we were licking our wounds already from the season before, where I thought we were quite successful. Obviously, Andrew did help with that, but I think the team as a whole now we're a lot more settled. We've brought in two more amateur signings in Abrar and Waka this season. We've signed um, a pro that for the full season till September, and we've gone for an experienced overseas in Jordan Kelly. As his captain back in Australia, and just to bring that experience to the team. So I think we see already this year, especially recently with momentum that we're building, that it's a lot more settled side. But I think it's took us probably an extra season maybe to recover from losing a player like that.
Yeah, and obviously last year you mentioned a lot on settlement, and you obviously had to bring juniors into the second team. I think despite obviously the challenge of doing that, I think that gave them young second team, a chance to kind of to show the quality and to develop a lot more, and which could really in the coming years show its worth.
Just repeat that again, so I didn't hear the full question.
So obviously last season you got your second teamers into the second team of the young juniors. Obviously that was maybe not ready for second team yet, but this season, do you think that development which you offered them last year will kind of show its worth this season and the coming years?
Yeah, I think last year, I think what Trav touched on, they weren't just quite ready last year. Whereas in the 12 months that they've had to now, the difference is night and day. I'll mention some names like Jack Fielding, he is now ready. Charlie Windsor ready. Lad called Billy Worthy, he's now becoming ready. So they probably were chucked in the deep end at the start, but it's coming through now.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And obviously last year, despite the disappointment in the league for your first team, you managed to make it to T20 Finals there, lost to a club, which was you didn't make it to the final, but I would assume
Mm.
your first team guys would really consider it a great experience for them. What do you think that brought to the club in terms of buzz around it?
I mean, I think in T20s over the recent years, prior to even joining the Northwest Cricket, we were quite successful in T20 cricket in terms of getting to finals days. We kind of make regular appearances in them. But it definitely brought a buzz. Obviously, with the league form that we had, Friday nights became a bit more of a cheer on than they were on Saturdays. And I think every team aspires to be in their finals days. They're great days to be part of. Obviously, you want to win them, but just being there and being about it, for us lot, was key last year. It give the first team something to aim for in the end because it was not a great season in a league campaign and the cup campaign. So the T20 was a bit of a glimmer and it kind of something that we could not take forward with us into this season.
Yeah. So moving to your second team, you obviously have Travis, your captain, and has been for the last few years. Stephen, how would you describe Travis as skipper, and how does the team respond to him as captain?
I'll be honest, he is a very good captain. I know. He thinks outside the box. He takes things on board. So I'm a keeper. If I see something, I might just mention it to him. He's not afraid to have him change something I might think or just stick to what he thinks. Or a more experienced player will say something to him. He takes it all on board. He takes everything in and he makes adjustments where he sees fit. Yeah, he makes brave decisions, brave calls. Some people might not agree with him. Some people do. But whatever he does, he always takes on the chin if ever it's good or bad.
Yeah. And do you think he has the respect of a second team teammate? See if he makes this decision, which another player might not disagree with, does that player it might be disappointed that they've not gone with that decision, but they'll be constantly supporting him as captain all the time.
Definitely, yeah. And I think that's a credit to the team that we've actually got. There's been a few instances this season where a bowler might have come off, maybe a couple of overs they might think too early, but Travis isn't doing it, he's doing it to benefit us or what he thinks is going to benefit us. He's not doing it to try and wind someone up. So, yeah, everyone respects his decisions.
Yeah. And in terms of obviously you've got young players in your side, we'll talk about the 13 a bit later on. But with the experienced players, you got obviously yourself played a while, you got Graham Kershaw as well, and probably a few others. I think that helps the team and Travis as well to make them decisions and with the experience they have, take what they see on board.
Yeah, at the minute we've got a really good mix of players. So you've got your more experienced ones like Graham Kershaw, Stuart Trotter, Andy Hutchins, myself. But then you've got, well, and Trav as well, he's experienced as well. But then you've got your lower end, so your Jack Fieldings, Charlie Windsor, Matt Brett, teenagers. So we've got a really good mix at the minute.
Yeah. And you mentioned one of your young players, Jack Fielding there, and obviously he had a very good season so far. He took 29 wickets, including a T20 fifer. I don't think he bowled a lot last season. He's probably equal the amount of overs he's bowled last season in what the 2 months, less than 2 months we've played this season. How do you think he has developed as a player in the last 12 months?
Well, I think with Jack is definitely a player that if you tell him, if you speak to him about cricket, he takes everything on board. A lot you can see sometimes with youngsters that you're trying to tell them something and they might not want to listen. They might think, they've got wickets now and they can crack on. Where Jack will take everything on board. He's keen to get better. He spends a lot of time at the nets. I think for Jack, he's a brave lad. He'll go. He wants to be in the first team net with the ball. He don't mind getting hit by the pro for a six. He'll get the ball again. He'll bowl again, and I think he just perseveres. Even when a lot of young lads they bowl a couple of bad balls and their heads are down and they're off. Where with Jackie, he'll just come back and he'll keep that spirit. I think he's bowled a lot more this year just because of the development over the last 12 months that he's had in terms of winter nets. He looked very good. And then just coming into the season, we had a friendly at Blackpool, we had an interclub friendly, and you just saw, a boy really, becoming a bit of a, turning into a man really in terms of his cricketing ability. So I think that's where it comes from, and I think it's just his perseverance in terms of he doesn't get beat up, he don't get down, and that five he took the other week against the Abies, credit to him, it's his first five at the club in all levels. He's not had one in the threes, he's not had one in the twos. Then to go and do it for the ones, just hope that kickstarts him on. And I think if you look at the recent games, he is getting involved a lot more in first team cricket, and he's bowling as well. He's not just there, to be part of it. He's taking part and taking crucial wickets like he did in, I think, the Hamer Cup. He bowled in the Hamer Cup in the last round against Salisbury, bowled really well. So it's just good to see, and I hope that inspires the other young players at the club that hard work definitely does pay off, and that's what he's done over the last 12 months.
I think his biggest strength, though, is how keen he is. He just wants the ball all the time. He wants to bat all the time. And then you put him anywhere in the field and he just wants to dive for the ball all the time. He's proper keen. He wants to play. Whether it's first team, second team or third team, he's not bothered.
Yeah, it's good to hear. And obviously you mentioned there he's kind of like a role model for younger juniors. Obviously he's 18, 19 now. He's probably turned into
17
now. 17. So he's probably one of the older juniors, but them juniors who are 12, 13, 14, maybe looking for playing 13 cricket. Would you say he sets an example of kind of how to do it in a way to them young players?
Yeah, I would say so. I'd say we've got two young lads at the moment, Len Worthy and Thomas Allen. They made their debuts with their team the other week against Penniscoles. And I think if they can just see what Jack's done, he's put the hard yards in the third team. It wasn't, he's not been one of them who's like, we're thinking he's going to be a first team cricketer at 16. You get some lads like that. Jack has really put the hard yards in, and he's really trains every week, has an extra net every week, and he listens. I think listening is one of the key things with the younger lads. I think you've got to take on board what experienced players are saying to you. We've got a wealth of experience throughout the first team and the second team. Especially when he's in first team and he's got Ian Brickcliffe next to him. He should be, and he listens to him and he takes that on board. So I think the other lads, even your Charlie Windsors, your Josiah Finns, all them people they're around the same age, from 16, 17, 18, they should be looking at Jack now and thinking, if he can get in that first team and be part of it, I definitely can. They all have the ability to. It's just that extra step and that extra 10% that they all need. And I just hope what they're seeing, what Jack's development over 12 months, is take that on board.
Yeah, you mentioned Ian Brickcliffe. Another topic I want to discuss is the Brickcliffes. So obviously in your first team you have Jordan and Ian opening the bowling for you. So how good is it to have these two in the first, and especially for Ian's case, he's still taking plenty of wickets even at the age he is now.
I think with Jordan and Ian, I mean, both experienced players. I think I can't even think of when Ian started. I'm sure it wasn't on play cricket then. And, Jordan, I think, is in his 16th season of senior cricket. So, they're both very experienced. Both been captains at the club. And like I say, Ian is still producing the goods. And he's, if we get him a little green top at Ribblesdale, he seems to be quite happy and quite chuffed. But I think it's just the consistent. They both want to win. That's the main thing. Ian still turns up on a Saturday and wants to win. No matter how many cricket games he's played, he's still dying to win every game that he turns up to. Same with Jordan. So they both have that spirit that you need, I think, sometimes, especially as an opening bowler. You face against. There's some very good pros in this league. Some very good top amateur batters who will take you on. So having that persistence and that competitive edge that you're going to win that battle. I think the younger lads need to look at that and aspire to be like that.
Yeah, and you mentioned your pro and overseas before. So you got a new one this year. You've got Heshan Danushka as pro and Jordan Kelly as overseas. How have they both settled into the club this year?
Well, to be honest, you never know what you're going to get when you get well, obviously others do, but you don't really. We never know what we're going to get as a pro or an overseas. Heshan's come in. He's been brilliant. I think what is he, fifth top run scorer, something like that. He's been fantastic. And Jordan Kelly, he just hits the ball hard. I mean, was it last week, a week before, he cleared the house up at Rib? So, yeah, he's a good player.
And do they both help out in, obviously, the performance is one thing which you pay a pro for, but in terms of helping the juniors, helping run a club, is that something that they both get involved in?
Yeah, massive. They're both massive into that. Heshan, with the juniors, so with Jordan. We have I think probably one of our successes of the last couple of years is our Friday night juniors, and the impact they have on that. Jordan, I've seen Jordan been doing sessions, one-on-ones, group sessions. Same with Heshan. They're both really keen, and that's one of the things they're passionate about. Hesh has done I think he's done his level 2 ECB qualification, but they both take the time. They both always lending advice to the younger players, even to the older players on match day or in the nets. They do want to get involved. They're not here just to play cricket. They are, they want to get involved in the club as well. Like Jordan's come over with his wife, and his wife's got involved with like the social side of the club, helping out with events. So they're trying, the Heshan the same, trying to integrate themselves in the club. What I think everyone wants from the pro. I know everyone wants runs and wickets, but when they can integrate into the club as well, it just makes a massive difference.
Yeah, it's good to hear. So now I want to look into your third team at the club. So last year you had a pretty good year. You finished second in the league to a very good Reed side. How important would you say the thirds are at Rib Wanderers?
Massively. You bring them through, they then progress to your second team, and hopefully they progress to your first team. God, what was I saying now? Oh, I've gone absolutely blank. What was it? Say the question again.
How important would you say the third team is at Ribblesdale Wanderers?
Oh, go on then.
Yeah, I think the thirds is massive for our future. We look at the players that have come through recently from the thirds. Your Mikey Worthy, Jack Fielding, Max Spencer started there one day. These are the future of our club, and as much as we want, some of the senior players that play in it to get runs and get wickets, it's all about our juniors, and it's all about that promotion. Luke Spencer does a great job captaining that team because having young lads in the field for 40 overs, it can feel like babysitting at times. But it's that knowledge that he has with them. He takes time with them. You've got to let them bowlers have the bad overs, to learn from it and just be around it. And I think some of them lads are really benefiting now. With Billy Worthy took 5 wickets at the weekend. I think he had 3 catches and a run out as well. But I think he's really benefited from the thirds because there is a step up, obviously, from third team to second team to first team. There is a step up in standard and what you do. But a lot of these lads are learning the basics in the thirds, batting a long time, bowling good lines, and I think that has really benefited our club. And I think you'll see that over the next few years at Ribblesdale that there is a lot more juniors coming through than previously. Maybe in the last few years, there'll be a lot of juniors coming through. Very hopeful of that.
So your third team is predominantly for juniors, but you also need them senior players to kind of to nurture and develop them. And obviously, Stephen, you're you've mentioned that you do play for the third team, and you've got a couple of us of older guys to help out with that. How important would you say is having them older, experienced players playing in the same team with those junior players?
Definitely, yeah. That's what we try to do, get the mix right. It's all right having young lads, but if you get 11 of them, say 17-year-old lads, they can just run riot, they don't know the game as well. They don't know match situations. So we try and have 6 or 7 teenagers. Then there's Luke Spencer, captain, who's about 21, 22. Then there's myself. And then we might fill it in with like Marshy or Scott Fielding or Terry Braithwaite's just come back playing now. He's a really experienced player. So the difference from 2 years ago, when they were about probably 13, 14, 15, to these 2 years now, when they're 16, 17, 18, yeah, brilliant.
Brilliant. So I know you touched on before, so now I want to talk about your social media. I know, Travis, you mentioned before you took on the role as social media manager this season. What made you take on the role, and how important do you think social media is at Rib?
What made me take on the role? Jordan Brickley previously did it. He now, as you may know, is a very keen marathon runner, and he does a lot of his own. He runs his own marathon channel and does all that. I just think he wanted to step away from doing the rib stuff to concentrate on more of his stuff. That's absolutely fine. In the end, it was kind of decided that I'd just pitch in, see what I could do. Unfortunately, when I decided to pitch in with something, I kind of want to give it my all and see what we can do with it. And I've really tried, to be honest, with the social media. I think it's massive now for clubs. If you want to be known, in your area, if you want other clubs to notice you, and sponsors and people to come down to your club, you've got to be on social media. You've got to be posting. You've got to be sharing stuff. You've got to be doing everything you can. So like this year, we've introduced doing match reports. What's had really good feedback of people. We've introduced just the social media side of events. So this year we've got a lot of events going on, more than we did last year, and really promoting our Friday nights kids training. So we've really pushed that. We've seen the numbers increase for that massively. And then we have food trucks now on Friday nights when we have T20 games. We've got singers on, and we're just building that profile up on social media. I think it's massive for cricket clubs now. For the future of cricket clubs, I don't think you can just be a cricket club anymore. I think you do need to be a social club for people around the area, for people who want to come down, have a drink, watch a bit of cricket, watch a singer, have food. I think you really have to develop that if you want to thrive. So that's what we're trying to do. As a cricket committee, we're really trying to push events, trying to make the club better, more friendly for people to come down. So we are really, really, that's a big thing for us this year and moving forward, that social media is good. We're doing lots of events and we're really promoting it to our local area, that there's a cricket club here. We have events on. We have junior cricket. We have senior cricket. Come down, even if it's just to watch or come to an event, come and visit us and see what we're like down here.
And with at least like looking at expanding the league, what do you see the positives that you and Ribble experienced since being the North West League?
I think the level of cricket's improved. If I'm going to be honest, I think the bowling teams, they play hard cricket over there. They've got some very good amateur players. They have some very good professionals, and I think it was a nice. The first year we mixed, it was a bit of probably a wake up call in terms of they play hard cricket over there. We need to match that. And I think we've adapted to it well. I think the benefits are that, the cricket gets better, which I think will attract better teams in the future to it. And I think Rib have really, really bought into it into terms of the North West Cricket League. And moving forward, I think it'll just get better and better, in my opinion.
I think to touch on what Trav says, the Bolton teams do play hard cricket. They're all experienced. The first thing I noticed was, usually when you get down to, say, 7, 8, 9, you're into them then. The lads chuck the wickets away. These lads were coming out at 9, 10 jack and still being able to bat. Maybe not getting the runs, but just that, just not wanting to give you 2 points. They were fighting to the death not to give you 2 points. And that was the first season. So last year, the Lancashire side, the Ribblesdale side, if you will, you could see them then they're now batting down to 11. We're not giving our wickets away as well, so I think they've made us better.
Yeah. And a few people mentioned this since doing these interviews, and it's the communication with the league. So obviously with the league, you want to be transparent with the which communication from the exec. You want to say, well, why we made that decision to because we communicate and obviously communicate via email to clubs, but it's probably as important, if not more important, to communicate that with your players as well, because the players are the most important. You don't have a league without the players. So how would you say in the last what 2 or 3 years the communication's been with the league?
I think it's night and day from what we had previously in the Ribblesdale League. I think we all have social media now in the club, and we can see that the effort that's put into the social media. So it's so much better than it used to be, or what we previously experienced. And I think the communication is great. To be honest, I think everyone can have the say in terms of moving forward. Everyone knows when the league AGM is. You didn't used to get that in the Ribblesdale League. It kind of just go under the carpet, and you'd be like, "All right, when did that happen?" And I think it's really good. Everyone's informed of what's going on. Results are always posted. I just think in general the communication's really, really good. Probably one of the better ones I've seen in terms of the local leagues. I look at the Northern League, look at the Lancashire League. I think we pipped them in terms of communication. To be honest.
We're active as well, aren't we? Everything that you need is on social media. On the Instagram, you always get the team of the week. You get, is there like a player of the month now? Everyone's always looking and wanting to look on that website, on that social media, whatever it is.
And so moving on to obviously you two have been playing cricket for quite a while now. Would you say there's anything that you don't like about amateur cricket now, or anything that you think could be changed to make it better?
I think the one thing that I'd like to change, we're playing with a third team now, is that they don't play leg side wide. So it's all right and bowling 6 overs for about 15 runs, but then when that step up to the second team, they might have bowled 4 wide. So to try and change that, do you change it to 30 overs to compensate for the wide balls, or do you do a maximum of 8 or 10 overs just to make them learn that they can't bowl down leg, and then when they do make the progression, they've already learned that lesson.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I think for me, in terms of amateur cricket, I think the league and the cup could be massively improved in terms of. I think we should, as a league, push to be a Premiership, look to be a 50 over competition in the league, maybe a half 12 start. But I really think that if we want to move forward and be a better league and attract better clubs, I think the 50 over half 12 start would be crucial to that. I also think the cup's too similar to the league. I know that you need to find maybe an extra bowler, but I think if you wanted to maybe make the cup a different thing. Maybe bring the coloured kits in, bring the pink ball in for 40 overs. Make it something different where it's not just the same format, nearly enough, the same amount. Try and make it a different spectacle for the fans. Because I see a lot of cup games, and it feels like you're just watching another league game. And it'd be nice to see maybe something a bit different, and just improve that differentiation between your league's a 50 over game, your cup might be 40 overs, but you're in a coloured kit or you're using a pink ball, and it just, your power plays and stuff like that. I think that would just make it a better spectacle for people watching and people being involved in it. I think people would enjoy that kind of thing.
Yeah. So now I've got some quick fire questions for you, and it's all about your second team teammates. Travis, you can give yours first, and Stephen, you can give yours second. And obviously, if you agree, you can say that as well. So the first one is the funniest player.
I'd say Marshy. Alistair Marshy. He don't play every week, but he's down most weeks watching. And he comes out with some belters at times. So he's definitely my funniest player.
Yeah, Marshy's class, but Trav's not far off his cell.
And the most clutch player.
Oh, most clutch player. I'm going to say Stuart Trotter for me. In terms of match winning knocks and someone who you can pretty much rely on every week. Stuart Trotter for me. He definitely Stuart.
It's a tough one that. I'd probably say George Kerr. Whenever you need a wicket, you just seems chuck him the ball and he'll just get you on.
And who is the angriest after getting out?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I'm sat next to him, so it is Tandy. Either you don't want to be in the changing room when he gets out, and you obviously don't want to be going for a lap with him either when he gets out because it's the longest lap of your life. So, either way, avoid him for a good. I'm very good at it now. I can avoid him for a good 20 minutes once he's out. So that's mine, Stephen Tandy.
I'd like to disagree, but I can't. I don't know. I just can't deal with getting out. So yeah, when I go to change room, I just give myself a good wording and just avoid me.
Yeah. And most underrated player.
Mine's Luke Spencer. He's in the team every week, and especially this year, he just gets these little knocks that go under the radar, 20s, 30s, at 7 and 8 that just go on the radar. And when I throw him the ball, he always seems to grab a wicket or bowl a spell. And he got a run out last week out of nowhere. He's one of them players that never sometimes in team a week, but one of the most consistent players we have. So definitely Luke Spencer.
I was going to say Luke myself for exactly the same reasons. You can wherever you bat him, you can bat him at 4, you can bat him at 9. He just never moans. He might not bowl every week, he never moans, but when he does bowl, he always bowls you a decent spell. And in the field, like Trav said, the other week it was a run out, just changes. Well, the momentum from that run out was just set us up for the game.
And so, if you had to share a house with one of your teammates, who would be the worst roommate and why?
Unfortunately, I'm going to say his name. It'd be Stuart Trotter, because that man can moan. He's definitely not a man you want to captain for 45 overs. He can't let things go. So if an umpire gives a decision, maybe an hour later, he's still having a mutter to himself and kicking the ground. So I couldn't imagine what it's like living in with him and being around the house. So yeah, definitely Stuart.
I'm going to have to say Matt Brett. I can't stand mess. And whenever we walk into the changing room, his bag is all over the place, pads everywhere, gloves everywhere, clothes everywhere. He's just the scruffiest man I've ever seen in a changing room. I can't deal with it, so him all day.
And the last one. So if one of your teammates had to do a TED Talk, who would talk complete nonsense but with full confidence?
Well, I can't say myself. So what I'll do, I'm going to go similar, Matthew Brett. The lad's full of confidence, but some of the stuff he comes out with, is a bit of nonsense. So what he says it with authority. He thinks he's definitely on the right tracks, but sometimes he's definitely not. So yeah, mine would be Matthew Brett.
I can't believe he's not voted for himself. It's Trav all day. The amount of speeches he's give, honestly, the confidence and everything, there's nothing behind it. He just talks absolute. I can't even say it, but yeah, Trav.
All right, and so I'm going to ask all the questions I have. Is there anything that you'd like to add before we finish?
Yeah, just like a bit of a shout out to our chairman, Mark Graham. This man works tirelessly at this club. The amount of work he puts into getting grants for this club and making it a better place. He is one of the people that goes under the radar sometimes. He can have his sulks at times, like anyone. But honestly, without him, this club wouldn't be in the place it's in at the moment. I want to mention him again. I want to mention Ian Brickliffe. He's similar. He gets involved with this pro side of things, signing people on. I think then people see Ian Brickliffe as just a player, but he delivers so much more off the field as well for the club. So them two definitely, I think, deserve a shout out on here, to be honest.
Yeah, I think your chairman's obviously going to as treasurer after the AGM this year for the league. So yeah. I'll wish him the best of luck for that. But I'd like to thank you for coming on, and I'll wish you the best of luck for the season. And hopefully this dry and hot weather will continue for the coming weeks.
Yeah, perfect. No worries, Toby. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Thank you.